Xavier Smith. Man, I saw Xavier Smith, FAMU. He's going to come on the show. He's going to be a friend of the show. I'm excited to break down Xavier Smith because you put this young man in space, crazy. Super fast, super smart, great body control. He's utilized in all different situations. Love the way he plays ball. There's catches you go see in the film that we're running, catches on the sideline. One of the toughest things, that's a wide open catch. Catch the ball, keep your feet in bounds, and still fight off the defender. And also, oh yeah, I still got to tuck the ball in. Like all of that multitasking, man, all of that. Not every receiver does that well. Now, these guys we're talking about it, they do it well. And Steve, do you have anything negative to say? I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just telling you what I love about what I see each guy. And some of it sounds repeated because that's how you should play wide receiver. If you want to dominate in this league, body control is important. Odell Beckham body control was ridiculous. That's why he was able to do that one-handed catch against Brandon Carr. That's why Justin Jefferson, body control is important. Stephon Diggs, body control is important. Devontae Adams, body control is important. Tyreek Hill, body control. Waddle, I can name upper echelon, tier 1 wide receiver over and over again. And I can name some tier 2 wide receivers. But let me tell you who doesn't have great body control. Jags, just a guy. But Xavier, I love Xavier. When you get the ball in Xavier Smith's hands, he's a trouble. He is a troublemaker. He is a problem child that you will like. Give it to Mikey, he'll eat it. Give it to Xavier. He will run to gold, right? Great body control. Also, one of the things I noticed about him, he got a different gear. He has a 6'7" gear. It's not even on the manual, but he just can he could get going.
So I think that's an interesting point. And I don't think, like, we talk about Hyatt, he's just got crazy raw speed. But there are some guys who, and I'm not even saying this applies to Smith, will run like a 4 or 5, but in game, they're actually a little faster than that. So what is the difference between game speed and that raw speed?
Torrey Smith had raw speed. But there were some routes that Torrey struggled with. And he would admit it. There were some routes that he's like, Steve, I just can't do that. I run too fast. I'm like, that's your problem. Slow down, Torrey. Right? And so what we call is you run around the house where you're so fast, like they when they go to stop, they're like skidding. And
like
that's
cartoon.
And then that's where the corners, when on the scout report, it'll say you tip off when he's about to break down. Xavier Smith doesn't do that. Running a 4.38, he doesn't tip off. He stops pretty fluid. His explosiveness is right there. And he can make you miss. Even though he's 5'10", 170 pounds, senior, he attacks the football not normal for a shorter guy.
I was going to say, is 5'10" even short by today's NFL standards? It feels like
it is.
It is, but it's like every year I feel like we're hearing when I was a kid, it was like, if you're not 6'4", we're not taking you in the first round.
I'll read you something that they said about a player I'm not going to name. And it just makes me so upset. I'm not going to show you who it is, but it says small catch radius with micro ball skills to expand outside his frame.
And was that a taller player?
No, shorter player.
Okay.
There's just unfair stereotypes with shorter receivers. Let me read it again. So under this scouting report and some of the things that I've read, small catch radius with mediocre ball skills to expand outside his frame. Not this salesman at the top of routes that you would expect, gives away his intentions too early, has yet to master the ability to find space over the middle of the field to present as a target. That's the cons of a smaller stature receiver. Now, I evaluated some of these other guys, and they haven't mastered the ability to catch the ball in space.
Yeah.
I know some corners who are in space and they don't even play well in space. So that's what I mean by, sometimes you got that. That's why sometimes I'm like,
Do you think during this draft process we're in right now, people get too hyper focused on the highs and the lows as opposed to what's this guy look like most of the time? What's his regular day?
No. So here's what has happened in the rankings. Here's the rankings of how it was at the beginning, heading into playoffs. Wide receivers were, I believe, Quentin Johnson was ranked 1. I think Addison was 2.
Probably, yeah.
Flowers was 3. JSN.
I was gonna say JSN might have been 3.
Yeah, he was 3. Like, do you have the old one?
Not off the top. Not.
But I
front
do
of me, no.
remember. And now when you go to it after teams and scouts have talked to them, after they have seen them go against other competition, man-to-man coverage, when they seen work ethic, that top 5 has changed completely. That's how it's changed. It's changed completely to the point of, and I'm going to tell you now, we're going to drop it. We got to talk. You got to evaluate Richardson. Richardson, all of a sudden, over the weekend, is blown up as a top 10 pick.
Yeah.
But I read his comps, and they're like, man, his footwork is sloppy. He's this, he's that. He's a quarterback 2, sitting in for a year. All of a sudden, he's a top 10 pick. Wow. That's because people have seen him. People have talked to him. And the evaluation process now is full-blown. Season's over. People are full-blown on this is what a guy has. This is comps. He's good at this. He's bad at that. And this is what it equals to. Hey, we put in this calculation, goes, okay, he does this well. Ding. Does that way. Ding. He does this great. Ding. He does this. Okay. And it just goes. Woof, woof. And then now what's happening is guys who were down here are leapfrogging. They're climbing.
Right.
The guys who are up here, they're going to have to change and improve or make all the comps that they thought of them when they hit the combine, that teams go, yep, he's exactly what we thought he is. Great job. Lock him in.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's teams like, there's going to be a John Ross. There's going to be a T. Higgins. There's going to be Henry Ruggs, that teams are also going to be like, he's too skinny. That's like, he's too skinny for you, but he's the right side for us.
Should the good prospect does somewhat outweigh the bad? And obviously the bad depends.
It depends on what the bad is. And I'm getting and because I wrote this down too in one of my notes, right? What the combine is. The combine changes things for players. Players go up and down 40 times, injuries. Is he coachable? How does he learn? And lastly, background. His background of educational football, his love of football, his lack of love of football, his character. They want to know what kind of person is he? Who's his mom and dad? What has his mom and dad taught him? What has his life? What has he experienced in life that has shaped and molded him to be the person he is? How does he handle adversity? Does he take criticism? Does he take tough coaching, or do we have to wear kid gloves with him? The combine is a place too, also for smaller school guys to be able to say, hey, I can play ball. Yeah, my competition, I didn't get to choose my competition. I just got to choose the opportunity of the school I went to, and I made the best of it, and give me a fair shake. Don't downgrade my stats because you don't respect my opponent.
It's very funny because do you think teams are going to start holding it either against or for players that don't transfer? Because it's like a lot of these guys,
production is gonna deem the judgment of, or how people perceive that player. Like,
well, you're saying character, so it's like, some teams view that as loyalty, like a Zay Flowers. We were talking in Arizona, and it was like he could have gone somewhere.
Yes,
else.
he could. Oh, he also is like 13. He has 13 siblings too.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a little bit of responsibility that he had to do. I don't think so, because he's going to play ball, but if you keep him, you know how to keep him is you pay him.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen anyone happily work for less money? I mean, not traditionally.
Very rarely, yeah.
Okay, so what just because you're in the NFL, hey, get while you can, because when they're done with you, they're done with you. So I like Xavier Smith. I think he's going to be a diamond in the rough. I heard some of the people told me that the Kansas City Chiefs were loving on him, man. They put him through some stuff and had him play different positions, and they were loving on him. I think they kind of see him as some version of how Tyreek Hill and Kadarius Toney, because here's one of the cons or the knocks or the bad on Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Toney is not durable. He's always got some twinge going on. So I think they want to get him. They need to get him to. He has to have a higher threshold of pain. Like this hamstring issue that he's had over the last year. Yes, he's a Super Bowl champ, but man, availability. You got to be available.
Yeah, he showed up when it mattered, but part of the reason the Giants were so quick to move on from him was his unavailability.
And he was like, "Oh, I'm fine. I was just faking." And then a week and a half later, he pulled his hamstring again.
Cut through it. Let's get down to it.